Okay. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back, I guess. Alexandrian Codex. Let's hop in here and start playing. I'll talk about what we're doing. So, obviously, starting in 1356, this is modded. This is pretty extensively modded, not just with the 1356 timeline extension mod, which I like. There's some problems with a few things with it, but generally it just gives more of the game, and I'm a big fan of that. God, I think Satisfying Ending is installed, but it's not going to be relevant for, like 98, 99% of this campaign. Capital is expanded is on, which basically gives, let's see if any of these triggered modifiers are in here. No, I can't see any of them right now, but depending on how you develop your capital and what ideas you have, you get different triggered modifiers, and the idea basically is that it's to try to make playing tall even better. And honestly, I think the bonus is it gives her too good, like overly good, to the point where I've played, oh god, 2 or 3 test games at this point just as Tuscany, not expanding outside of, well, playing as Florence, not expanding outside of Tuscany at all, and I've been able to hit a great power every single time, pretty consistently, with just obscenely developed provinces of like 70, 80, 90 development. I had development expanded installed, but oh my god, that is horribly unbalanced. Super interesting conceptually, doesn't work super well. Colonial nations don't colonize outside their colonial nation. It's just a nitpicky thing. Modus Vivendi, more ruler personalities, so we'll see there are 5 ruler personality slots, and there are dozens of new personalities. The graphical map improvements, I mean, this is pretty small, but I find it nicer to look at. Then I hacked together, this isn't just 1356, I also hacked in missions expanded, governments expanded, Florentine Glory, Repubblica Fiorentina, Florentine mission tree, and a couple other Florence, Italy mods. Now, most of these mods I hacked together and added in here are dead. There's some events that are going to pop up. They're super work in progress. Never had the localization done, so they'll just say, like, localization missing. And when that happens, I'll explain what the intention of the idea was, and to play a bit with that. So, honestly, I can't remember why I wanted to play this, but I found it kind of fun and fascinating to look at how different people have gone about trying to mod Florence in the way things have been similar and dissimilar. There have been some really ambitious attempts to mod Florentine government, and it's super interesting. People whose understanding of history was that the Medici were basically in charge and that everything else was just a facade. Others that was more complicated than that, but the Medici were still key players, and yeah, it's super cool. Government's expanded here is, I'll be honest, I hate when mods start with a "Welcome to my mod" pop-up, and I deleted at least 3 or 4 other events exactly like this for the other mods that I included, because, dude, I don't care. It's cool, but, like, it doesn't need tutorialization. Basically, yeah, just events and choices and yada 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 yada. We don't need details. It'll come out and play. Now, this isn't just going to be a... That's 10, right? Yeah. Okay. I've played a few test games. This isn't just going to be of course, a run where I try to paint the map this weird orangish red. No, I'm going to try to stay vaguely within the confines of actual history of Florence. That's one of the reasons I am pushing the start date back so far. And the reason why I installed a lot of the mods was for more flavor and to help balance out just how impractical it's going to be. Now, I've done a few test runs to see how feasible this is. For context, it isn't until I have a timeline over here. Arezzo we shouldn't even have until 1384 is when Arezzo was integrated into Florence. Then Lucca, God, long time. Pisa was in what? 1406 was the purchase and annex of Pisa, but Florence would take Siena, Pisa, Lucca, back and forth and back and forth. A lot of the nature of the Italian states at this period was this constantly shifting dynamic of alliances and betrayals and counter-alliances and wheeling and dealing, just constantly shifting. It's super interesting, but very, very hard to model in a game like this. And again, I can't remember what the hell got me thinking about this a few nights ago, but I'm glad that it did, because it actually got me to crack open coding. I hadn't done any modding for EU4 right before this week. It's exactly the same as every other Paradox title. I'm like, what if the file structure is different? It's not. It's exactly the same as Stellaris or anything else, which isn't really much of a surprise. So it was really, really, really easy just to pop in here and be like, change this start date to this, and this needs this check, and this I don't like, let's cut out this, and da-da-da-da-da. I've hacked together 2 or 3 different mission trees. Basically the missions expanded mod and the Florence mission tree mod. God, I can't remember what it was called. I have it written down right here. Oh, it really was just called Florentine Mission Tree. Both of them had aspects where you'd go through this interesting part of like birthplace of the Renaissance and a review of Renaissance humanism, reform science, make a secular state, or focus on trade, or find allies. But then all of those would branch into trees that are like, and this will give you cores on this, and then that'll give you cores on this. And like, inevitably, it just felt very cookie-cuttery, in that it would just be like, take over Italy, and then take over Tunis, and then take over Algiers, and then take over here, and then go colonize the New World. And it's inelegant, and it's not super pretty. So I've cut out all of those conquest ideas. I don't really want to be conquering anything. Really, let's see some of the... So I have ideas that I'm limiting myself to. Florence in 1356 was plutocratic. The definitely economic ideas resonate, innovative, but we're not going to jump straight into exploration or expansion. Florence never had any real exploration missions, colonization missions. There was the 1608, let's see, I want to make sure I get the name right, the Thornton Expedition, which is such a cool name. There was a Tuscan colony aimed at what's now modern French Guiana, and I played a test game last night where I waited until 1600 before colonizing anything. I barely grabbed anything in Guiana, and that was it. So I'm going to push back the timetable on that to 1550 maybe, to printing press instead of global trade, for when I can start colonizing, because especially with this early start date and getting ideas earlier, inevitably Portugal and France, and normally it's Sevilla in here, because the Trastamaras almost always win this war, but it doesn't work as intended. They don't always just straight up annex Castile, and if they don't annex Castile, they become Sevilla. who are this really cool purple tag, but it's basically Castile by any other name, and then they slowly eat Castile over the next 100 years or so, and then they start colonizing. So, but then they never unify Spain because they don't have the same events that fire off it. I don't know, this is one of the things that's a little bit fucky about the 1356 start. This is a little weird. The 100 Years' War is a little jank. I've seen the Russian state White Horde conflict ping pong back and forth between, oh, we won, we lost, we won, we lost within a few years. So listen, it's a passion project and I like what they've done. Point being, we're not colonizing super early on, which is a really gimmicky way to play Florence, and I'll try to explain as we go why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm not doing what I'm doing. One thing I gotta say, I hate this about base EU4, and I hate it still. The Papal State 9 times out of 10 rivals Florence, which is super ahistorical. Now the Pope did twice, at least twice, excommunicate the entire city of Florence. It wasn't a one-off deal. This happened more than once. So there was a on-again, off-again relationship with the Pope, but the way that the Papal States are portrayed in EU4 is a little, I mean, not at all in keeping with reality. The Pope, there are two factions here that we can demonstrate this. Oh yeah, this government tree rework I love. A huge political theme of northern Italy, and particularly in Florence, is an ongoing conflict for the last several hundred years, couple hundred years, between the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, which are just such great names, Guelphs and the Ghibellines. Essentially, the Ghibellines believe that the emperor's in Bohemia right now. The emperor and the aristocracy and nobility are the rightful highest authority in Europe. Opposing them are the Guelphs, who believe that the Pope and the people are the higher authority. So I really like this as being included. It doesn't model out super well, and just jumping straight into de' Medici ends up being better. But that was a huge thing going on at the time. Part of the rivalry between the Albizzi and the de' Medici starts 20 years after this start date, and there's not an event, the Chiompi Revolt. The Chiompi Revolt is in 1370. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna keep talking about this stuff for a while. Let's just slap on. I want Siena. I want Pisa. Fuck the Pope. And then we're just gonna hop in here, declare restraint of appeals, and we're just gonna be excommunicated. Oh my god, so long. And this sucks. I've also, because one of Tuscany's ideas in base EU4 is a +2? +1, +2 yearly papal influence, which is worthless if the Pope immediately rivals you and excommunicates you from the get-go. You can't accumulate papal influence, so one of your starting traditions is worthless. So I swapped that out for yearly Republican tradition, which arguably is like just a lot better and is unbalanced, but fuck it. I like it more. And I've rebalanced a few of these, and yeah, it's a little much, honestly, but I'm pretty happy with it. Let's slap you in there. Now, I'm fairly sure we can't get any allies. Oh my god, Zurich would ally now. For this time period to be reflective of Italian politicking, until until 1550, I can't form any relationships, any alliances outside of Italy. To reflect how the focus of the Medici and Florentines was really small scale. It was about establishing a balance of power between Italian states, not so much establishing. God, I cannot enunciate tonight. A hegemony of Florence over the rest of Italy. That was never the goal. Financial dominance, political dominance, dominating the Pope, yeah, totally, all those things, but never outright annexation. It was always kind of wheeling and dealing and trying to subtly reach the coast and acquire more land, but it was never obnoxious. Now, Urbino, yep, I've done enough test games. Yeah, they hate both Pisa and Siena. Normally it's one or the other, but I'll take both. Urbino's going to be, I hope, we'll see if this works out. Urbino is going to be our buddy for a long, long time. Why? Well, they're threatened by the Pope. They hate the people we hate, and they're small, and they're in Italy. We have no claims on them. I had played a little restricting initial growth to actual timeline, but then we wouldn't get Siena until 1555 is when Florence finally was gifted Siena. So, nah. Unfortunately, EU4 just doesn't have the depth to explore and demonstrate the kind of political intrigue and politicking of the time. So we're just gonna have to live with that. Now, I'm gonna hop up to Speed 5, and I don't know what the end goal of this is. It's just a fun project I've been looking at and thinking about. The ultimate end goal is to have a somewhat believable end nation, to somewhat operate with rules within the confines of reality, and ultimately to transfer this onto Vicky 2 and see how it'll do there. Now, of course, every game I start up, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a grand campaign with this. So, to start out, a couple interesting things going on. The Ottomans are still pretty small. There's a lot of potential for Byzantium to come back. Muscovy and the other Russian princes have to break out from underneath the yoke of their oppressive, is this Yuan Dynasty? No, come on, who are the White Horde a part of? Golden Horde, I think? Yeah. France is dealing with the 100-Year War. 100 Years War is also impacting Spain right now with the War of the Two Peters between Pedro and Enrique. Down here, wait, no, who was the second Peter? Oh, fuck, it's been so long since I studied the 100 Years War. Basically, the idea is this war should determine if either Castile or Trastamara, either the Ivrea family or the Trastamaras take over. It'll be a bit more complicated than that. This is one of all of these mods that added these events were really quite ambitious with the number of things that they wanted to add in. Each mod only, give or take, added 7 or 8, maybe a dozen or so events at the most. But at the footnotes in most of these documents and most of these mod files in the code were hashtagged out notes like, oh, I want to add this later, I want to add this later, and oh, I need to do this, and should I do this way or this that way? And God, it was actually really cool to read through. So the Palazzo de Signoria, the Palace of the Signoria, is a defensible and secure place for the Signoria of Florence to reside in. Now, the Signoria, none of the mods really get the government of Florence quite right. It was sort of a republic, but not in the way we would think of it now. I actually read through Machiavelli's History of Florence, which really impacted on me just how parenthetical I write and speak, how I go back to clarify things and then clarify on the clarification before I eventually wind my way around to my point. Machiavelli does the same thing, and honestly, it's probably exhausting to read, but I like it. So basically, the political structure, the highest tier political structure in Florence is that there are 9 members of the Signoria. They're elected from... 6 of them are elected from the major guilds. The judges, the clock dyers, wool merchants, bankers, silk merchants, physicians, furriers. And then 2 from minor guilds or intermediate guilds. Those could be butchers, blacksmiths, stonemasons, shoemakers, linen merchants, vintners, innkeepers, leather workers, olive oil merchants, saddlers, locksmiths, armorers, carpenters, or bakers. There are 21, or were 21, Florentine guilds, and these guilds dominated the politics. They're like really big unions in modern day terms. That if you were a butcher, you had to be a part of the butcher guild, and if you weren't, then you weren't protected by anything. And the 1378 revolt of the Chianti I was talking about was these wool workers, not wool merchants, that wanted to make their own guild. And so they unionized and took the city by storm and held the Signoria at spear point, and were basically like, hey, we want representation for our union too. Now, it was super corrupt and interesting, but basically this Gonfaloniere, I'm not Italian. The justice of the peace here was one person who was ostensibly the head of state, but they only stayed in power for 3 months at a time. The entire Signoria was supposed to rotate every 3 months. And subsequent members of the Signoria, subsequent justices anyway, couldn't even be from the same dynasty or same family. Now the Medicis got around this by having like, oh well, this is my good friend, he's not a de Medici, he'll hold on to it for me, or operating from the shadows, and just super fucking fascinating. Galfarione Piero Albizzi, he's interesting dude. Not super remarkable. Giving him a 222 is a little harsh. I probably would have given him a 333. He wasn't that bad. His personality traits aren't saved. He got exiled a couple of times, spent some time in Naples. Was he eventually executed? I think so, by the revolt that I'm talking about. The Palazzo is a secure area where these elected members of the populace would go to reside and work for the people. Pretty cool. Also, super defensible position, despite the fact that it got taken over quite a few times. There was no standing army in Florence at the time. Really, most of these nations did not have standing armies. And that's a pretty big flaw of EU4, is mercenaries were the means that most small states, anyway, projected power and fought wars. There were conscripts, but formalized, even by the time of Machiavelli, like a century after this, century and some change after this, Machiavelli was arguing that like professional armies were the way of the future, and everybody thought he was crazy. Condottieri really did dominate Italian warfare for quite some time, but I hate the mercenary mechanics in EU4. They're broken. I don't like them. Yeah, Naples almost always gets the ire of the Papal States as well, but they're too big and we're too small, so they don't think I'd be a good ally. Which is a shame. We could... yeah, okay, let's just start plummeting down. No, you know what, to start out, let's get Piero Allori here, boost our Diplo rep, maybe make it possible to nab a couple alliances even after the inevitable excommunication comes in. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first 50 years or so, or at least the first 30 years or so, we're not doing much. And most of this campaign, we are not doing much. We're going to be sitting here, developing our sweet little birthplace of the Renaissance, and watching Europe run on by. Now, I made exceptions in the last few runs for expansion that I can have vassals hold land, and I think I'll do that again. That's panned out pretty interestingly, and that's been fun trying to balance my own development counter to expanding them. I'm going to be a bit more liberal this time in letting myself explore and colonize, because I spent a lot of time doing nothing in the last 2 runs. But again, by the time 1720 rolled around, I had an army of 100,000 plus. In my last game, I quit playing in 1750, and I had a force limit of 450,000, which is just obscene. The actual population of Florence never went above 120,000 people, just total people. So, you know, there's some flaws there, but alright, always withdraw from public life. Oh, well, you know, Republican tradition was already 100. That was just a waste. Early on, we have these modifiers, if I pull them up, modeling the inefficiencies of early feudalism. Basically, we're just worse at a lot of stuff. Mercenaries are cheaper and cost less, and there are more of them, and you loot faster, but provinces cost more to take, unjustified demands are more expensive, cores are more expensive, it's harder to improve relations, you have one less diplomat, development costs 40% more, construction is 25% more, you have a 25% reduction in national manpower modifier. Really, these modifiers are meant just to slow down the early game. Because, you have too many, fuck. Okay, who doesn't hate me? Verona and Montferrat. Yeah, okay. Normally it's been Urbino, Verona, Montferrat, and Genoa. Yeah, Genoa sometimes that I've been able to ally, but not today. That's a shame. Urbino is super helpful. Fuck. Well, that's gonna make things a little bit more difficult. Urbino's super helpful because their army is always right here. It's only a couple provinces away to jump over, attach to mine. Especially against the Papal State or Pisa and Siena, it's a lot more useful than having to wait for someone to come down from northern Italy, or God forbid, southern Italy. That's fine, that's fine. We'll see what happens. I probably should have dealt with this earlier. Great, well, it won't matter much. I forgot how much slower Speed 5 is when I'm recording rather than when I'm just playing on my own, but hey, the processor's doing what it can. Now, Piero would be a 333 here. I don't hate him. And I don't really want to be focusing anything in particular right now, so we'll keep the Albizzi for a while. And we're going to start slowly gaining momentum in terms of mana, PowerPoints. Really, it'll take a good, again, few decades, but once we start rolling in it, there we go. There's the excommunication. Once we start rolling in it, it should keep going for quite some time. Yep. Trastamara won, but again, because they didn't completely annex Castile there, they are Sevilla. I think they didn't enforce the right war goal, so this ends up happening a good 3/4 of the time. I've only seen Castile unified once at the end of this. Of 4 recent test games in the last week, and I played the 1356, used to be 1399 mod quite a lot in my own time. I will say one thing about this mod that is a little unfortunate is late game performance It's grinding a little bit because you're giving the AI even more opportunities to bloat, and oh god, it sure does. It sure does. Having 100,000 soldiers in the end game, you're a big state at that point, right? The Ottomans, when they took Constantinople, had, oh god, 80,000? 80,000, and they were scraping the barrel to do it, I think. And that's 1444, or 1454. So, yeah, we can hit decline there, get free stability. The armies are too big and too organized. Modena has declared a war for independence. And Ferrara, Milan, and Urbino allied with Aquila and Mantua. Yeah, knock yourselves out. Modena would be a great ally, except you hate me. Oh, right, yeah, because I demoted the Pope and raised the king to have high root. Don't worry about it. Also, I didn't really do that because I don't have a king, but Verona is allied with Siena. Cool, 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 cool. Who needs allies? Not me. Savoy. Savoy would actually ally me. Savoy starts out in a not so bad position. If you're wondering what's going on over here in France, they just start out with vassals like they did in vanilla EU4, and I think EU4 is intending to move back in that direction, slow down France and make it more fun to play. So there's some weird shit going on in here. Savoy, instead of getting beaten up pretty early on, has a pretty good shot. Provence is not independent. At this time, it's under a personal union with Naples, which makes Naples actually pretty scary. In the last couple of games, Naples tends to peak around, I don't know, 1500 with a not so bad empire spanning, I don't know, this, and then the Ottomans start coming into their own. Oh, neat. And just steamroll them. So, Lithuania can turn Remuva pretty early on, which is a nice twist. I've seen them turn Remuva and then flip around once they're losing the war and get the personal union with Poland anyway. So this doesn't necessarily mean that the Commonwealth is out, it just means it's not going to happen right now. I think the alternative choice... Oh, this is a Rurik? Oh, didn't know that. The alternative option there gives Lithuania a union over Poland. It's kind of cool. So we're switching out this for this. It's slightly less extreme, but it's still pretty extreme. And as our tech gets higher and higher, those penalties will eventually go away until we're close to 1400 and we just have the base game modifiers. Honestly, it's a pretty clever way to try to add some color, let's say, to the differences. It does not look like Modena's gonna win here. It's only Ferrara and Urbino, so they should be getting fucking stomped. Oh, I thought Milan was in this war. No. Cool, okay, well... Did you peace out? Oh, you did. You coward. Now, at this time, the Holy Roman Emperor is Bohemia. And unfortunately, this mod doesn't do a great job at showing the transition from von Luxembourg hegemony to von Habsburg hegemony. Really, it just stays in the Luxembourg family for a long, long time, and then the empire just slowly collapses. The Emperor normally doesn't do a great job at taking out the Hussites when they spawn, which tends to just erode the foundation of the empire, and then by the time the Protestants come along, it's just putting it out of its misery, basically. Yep, keeping Piero. Dissolution of the Monasteries Act. Why not? More national. Midas touched and impartial. I like him. Do I have enough for? I do. Let's go for some prestige. Now, this isn't actually going to gain us prestige because we're excommunicated. We're just hemorrhaging prestige, and we're going to be hemorrhaging prestige for a long time. This is actually really annoying because, not birthplace of the Renaissance, center of Europe requires that I have a prestige of 75. And that's really fucking hard to do before embracing Protestantism, which is my go-to as Florence. I can't play a Catholic Florence. I can't. The only way to get the Pope off my ass is to vassalize them, and then you have a -2 diplomatic reputation penalty, which isn't worth it. The bonuses you can get in here aren't bad. Like, if I could just stack sanctioned commercial monopoly, it'd be pretty cool. But no, only like 1 in 10 games as Florence do you start out with the Pope not hating you, and you have to kiss ass emphatically to keep them from hating you. Now we can have 4 allies. Trustworthy allies, which is a generic idea, and find allies are pretty similar. Find allies in the mod I stole it from only give you a claim on Pisa, and then it had another chain that gave you Lucca and then Siena. But it's not worth getting into why I didn't like parts of it, but I didn't. So instead we're just getting a permanent claim on the Tuscany area. Honestly, that's just quality of life thing. It's not hard to maintain claims on these. You just have to use a spy consistently for most of the game, and it's tedious. -85. Right, you hate me. And you annexed not only... Wow, you didn't just force Medina to stay. You annexed them. Alright, Ferrara, that takes some cojones. Venice is small enough to maybe out... Okay, I can get rid of that -1,000. And that would also get rid of the -20, but you still have too many friends. Oh my god. Dude, come on, I need... Fuck. Who are you allied to? Cool, how about you? Burgundy's outside. Tell you what, let's just keep it on Urbino and hope for the best. Now, I think the video structure is going to go... I'll put in a cut every time I have to replace our ruler. Sometimes, like Piero here, God willing, we're not putting in a cut for, ooh, you know, another 20, 30 minutes. It's hard to tell. Okay, this is really close. Ah, the problem is, that's why it's not working like it normally has. The Urbanese ruler has the overbearing quality. Great. Yeah, love that. Spare no expense. Money is really not something I care much about right now. And buying down inflation is easy, or getting advisors, and we have a national idea that reduces yearly inflation because interest per annum is a useless fucking modifier unless you're intentionally taking loans. If I'm taking loans, something has gone very wrong. This is not a useful trait. So, I've changed it. Listen, if you're modding one thing, you might as well go all out. We start out as a Florentine Republic, where's our maximum absolutionism, which is interesting. More trade efficiency, which is really nice. Cheaper construction costs. I should just have this maintain relations in Urbino. Oh, yep, that's why. Because eventually the enemy of enemy should tick up high enough that... Boom, ally. Okay, so we have one more slot. I don't actually think I can convince anyone to be our ally. Let's see, let's look for Italians here. Bosnia, Tyrol. Tyrol is actually close enough that I call them Italian. You know, Austrians might not enjoy that, but yeah, I'll ally you. You're Italy adjacent. This is Italian enough. So reforms. You can go for authoritarianism, garbage. Political dynasties, garbage. Republicanism, not bad. That yearly Republican tradition is like really good, but I'm not picking it, and you'll see why. Mixed Republic is not good. Supporting the Ghibellines or the Guelphs, basically, depending on the historical alignment of other states, you get a penalty or bonus to relations with them, which is super interesting. Or dependent on what tier they pick for the republics. This lower yearly Republican tradition by 0.25 was just horrible. I guess if you're supporting Ghibellines, you're trying to tank the Republic and become a monarchy. Like, this seems entirely the only reason you'd pick this. The Guelphs, on the other hand, have yearly papal influence, which is pretty good. Development costs, which for us would just be amazing. Goods produced, which is really good, just across the board. And the year is before 1490. Basically, at 1490, regardless of which one of these you pick, the Italian question gets resolved, and... Phone, get out of here. Ooh. Alright, it made it onto the bed. The Italian question with regards to if it stays in the Empire or not gets resolved, so this is kind of a non-question anymore. The Guelphs want independence, the Ghibellines want you to stay in. I'm picking the Medici dynasty. Now, in the notes here, there's not anything really remarkable. Like, look at this. +5 maximum absolutism. Absolutism, I should say. And then it says corrupt the electoral system, which is not very useful explanation at all. But basically what it does is it does the political dynasties thing that lets you re-elect from ruling family. But they're almost always really, really good. So we're just gonna hop into the Medicis here. And I think, in all likelihood, we're gonna keep Piero till he dies. But there's a likelihood, a possibility anyway, that come December 1368, we could have a de Medici roll up who's a 666, or a 444 and 30 years old, or a 555, etc., etc. So the de Medicis are, they're really good. They're overpowered, even. Part of picking this reform in the code is when you choose to re-elect the leader, instead it only gives a 33% chance to improve one of their stat values, which, you know, it's kind of a nice debuff, but it's too much, so I cut that code and now it just works as it used to. So we're going to be running on 666 rulers for most of the game, which, infinite mana, you know, you start running up into some incredible balance problems. But that's why we're doing these self-constrained limitations. At least until until 1500, I'm not even going to vassalize anything outside of this. This is all we're going to have until 1500. 1520, 1550, we can start having Italian vassals, but only Italian vassals. 1550 this time, I'm gonna try letting myself colonize, because waiting until 1608 last time was a big mistake. Big mistake. And if the aspect ratio here looks weird, well, that's a consequence of my old monitor just shitting the bed, and me getting a widescreen monitor, putting 2 and 2 together, what that would look like on OBS. So enjoy this for now. I'm not playing in a blocky resolution. I'm sorry, but I'm not doing that for you. You can just enjoy these bars like it's a old-timey cinematic adventure. Serbia tends to blob like they're doing right now fairly consistently. Albania's fucked. If it's not Serbia taking it over, it's Naples. Piero? Okay. Well, this is a bad example. Fernando here is barely better than a... Basically, the de Medicis can spawn with any stat. They can have 111, 222, 333, 444, etc., etc. You can have a 666 de Medici just base, which is... It's interesting. It's too good. It's way too good. It's basically being able to re-roll your ruler every... what, 10 years? What is our election cycle? 4 years? Yeah, every 4 years. And then getting a bonus to your current ruler if you don't find anything better. It's too good. But it's fun, and it makes playing tall, stupid tall, like I'm doing, actually viable. So I'm sticking with it. Now, let's see if I remember to actually slap on encourage development once I actually start developing. Last time I forgot to do that until like 1500, which set me back pretty considerably. It doesn't seem like it, but that 10% modifier makes a big difference. But the last game I played, well, Brittany still hasn't become a thing, because they were split during the 100 Years' War. I had Brittany eat up a couple of Italian states, and then Italian, yeah, this is Italy, Irish states, and then go on to take over the entirety of Great Britain. That was a trip. And then they ended up spawning the revolution in the late game, and England came back from the grave to reassert their dominance over the British Isles. That was a weird fucking game. Yep, guess they should have stayed at home. Because my monarch points are more important to me than anything else right now. Researching that should have, here at the end of the month, switch over the modifier? No? Oh, I already had a 3. Okay, that's why. Now, this sucks. The way this is balanced is I can start building innovativeness right now. Slowly. But we will not have time to generate enough enough monarch points to embrace the new technology by the time we start getting the ticking behind time penalty that'll just erase any innovativeness we pop up right now. And normally, I say normally, in my experience, there's at least 1, maybe 2 innovative events between now and 1376, 1375. And my first game, I'm like, hell yeah, let's start stacking up innovativeness in like the 1300s. That's crazy. And it does get crazy if you do that, but then having no way to buy it, to fight it, was not great. Now, if I were really playing hardcore history, we would have mercenaries instead of an army. I don't want you, right? No, 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 no. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Even with these modifiers, and we'll get more later, we're gonna have a hard time keeping even neutral prestige, let alone positive prestige. We're gonna have a problem with that for a long, long time. Essentially, the early game goal is to wait until either Pisa or Siena start a war that they shouldn't have started. You know, there's the famous quote about World War II starting because of some damn thing, or a world war starting because of some damn thing in the Balkans, or whatever that Bismarck quote is. Essentially, that's what we're waiting on, is some damn thing to happen in Tuscany as an excuse. Okay, you know what, Piero, you're out. I already have the allies I want, and I like this being green, even if it wasn't significantly in the red. Gotta be in the black. I kind of love that Piero Albizzi has been completely different every time I played him. The second test game I did, Piero had something improving morale, something improving infantry combat ability, and something improving discipline. And when I turned him into a general, he had at least 4 pips and everything. He was a god. I got excommunicated, declared war on me by Genoa, Milan, Naples, who again has Provence, and Ferrara. And I just had all of this, no vassals. And I fought all of these fuckers off because he was just that good. And God, I wish I had been recording at the time. Oh, yeah. Midas touch, yeah, get rid of some of that inflation. Hell yeah. I highly doubt that's going to happen again. Particularly because last time, when that happened, I didn't have any allies. Which is, again, part of why it's such a sticking point to me that I have allies. The whole fighting off all of Italy thing sucked. Yep, here it is. This is what we're talking about. Now, maybe if I were to jump in here and set a national focus and only have one type of advisor, maybe we could have saved that innovativeness that we'd been building up. Maybe. But I just don't think it's possible with our starting ruler. Now, or alternatively, pardon the burp, alternatively, we could have given him up, or if we had gotten a really good de Medici, that might have done it. I think last time in this election I had 556 de Medici, but nope, not this time. Sorry, Gaston. We'll keep you. So we're 666. And that's great, but we're 53, so we're probably not long for this world, but we'll just enjoy those monarch points while we have them. What time is it? I have no count. Okay, it's only 7 p.m. I'm like, is it like 2 in the morning right now? What fucking time is it? I could be streaming. Yeah, but I don't wanna. For me, for whatever reason, it's easier and less stressful to record when I can just kind of talk to myself and not have to worry about... It's really moderating chat that gets annoying. I don't want to have to keep an eye on it in case of whatever. And I don't have mods because the chat really does not warrant it right now. Hey, Marketplace. Hey, so you're fired so that I can afford to build a second marketplace sometime soon. Really, we will not start financially booming until we get a coast. Until I can start pumping out trade ships. Really until... Ooh, you're moving. What's going on here, bud? You're... Huh. Okay, no, that's a war you're... Wow, really? So the Mamelukes, rather than, you know, I don't know, try to take Alexandria or Syria. The last game I played, Syria had all of this and all of this. and we're allied with the Ottomans who had all of this, so this gets a little fucky too. Knights, Venice, Siena, Aquila, and Ragusa. Well, that doesn't really break up your alliance. And Urbino, I don't even have 10 favors with yet. Yeah, so I couldn't call anyone in. I could snipe down the Sienese capital, though. You're allied with Verona. You're in a trade league with Venice. Yeah, don't want to fuck with that. Later, maybe. Siena. If Siena is weakened enough by this war, Pisa will probably think it's a good opportunity and try to get in on that. And then that's a great opportunity to go for Pisa. Pisa, you were allied with the Pope. Yep, makes sense. And Augsburg. God, this exact thing happens so often. Augsburg? No problem. I got a friend here who can take care of Augsburg. The Pope, between Urbino and I can take care of the Pope. These two would just be icing on the cake, so I'm feeling very confident about our alliance situation. Really, all we're doing is waiting for favors to build up to at least 10 with everyone. That is the minimum for calling people in, and then we have to deal with the incidentals of if they'll actually join the war or if they'll just say that they like me, but then not actually live up to it. I've never had this exact war happen, though. It's nice. The Copts are not as constrained. The Copts, yeah, are not quite as constrained as they are in 1444. And I've seen all of this go Coptic. I've seen Coptic end up in here before. There's a lot of ways that shit can get weird. Here's what I was talking about with Sevilla. Rather than winning the war one way, instead they... immature. He's an immature 55-year-old. But somehow being immature reduces our aggressive expansion impact, huh? Ruler is immature, childish, and impulsive. Our ruler acts crudely at inappropriate times. As a result, none take us seriously. But this is a double-edged sword, however, as they are less likely to acknowledge our expansion as a legitimate threat. Perhaps out of embarrassment of feeling threatened by a man-child of a ruler. Ah, okay. Okay. Just plain a man-child. Savoy, bud. Oh, that's not you. Oh, okay, that's Wallace. The Swedish Confederation is very much not confederated yet. So you have Bern, you have Zurich, you've got Thurgau, you've got Croatia, and Wallace. All independent, and they don't do the best job at confederating. So, unsurprisingly, I'm jumping straight into innovative ideas. Now, there's a strong argument for economic, particularly because it's not going to be until a while down the road that we can pick up another administrative idea group. I think, on the whole, getting these tech cost reductions as early as possible saves us enough to make this make sense. However, that 20% development cost really starts adding up. Now, purely historically, if I were playing that way, humanists would actually be more fitting for the philosophical movements in northern Italy at this time. Particularly, oh my god, I can't remember his name. How do I not remember his name? Petrarch, Dante, Bocciaccio? He was a contemporary of Petrarch. We're really early, well, Dante a little less, but Petrarch was like the early humanist thinker. And he was from Florence. He didn't stay in Florence. He ended up dying in Venice, I think, in 17, be long-lived, 1387? Something like that. He died in Venice, so he wouldn't make a good event choice here, but humanist would actually make more sense. But this is worthless. Well, okay, not completely worthless. Okay. And just for gamey reasons, I can't bring myself to get an idea group that's just useless. Council of Kaluga. Amidst rising conflicts between Russian principalities and the White Horde, the major Russian princes It gathered in the Odivian city of Kaluga. Amongst the major topics discussed were formation of a united Russian League and the selection of a ruler. Ultimately, oh my god! Okay, I'm like, why didn't this happen in Muscovy? Last time, Muscovy got this. Well, Alex, Moskva apparently belongs to Oroviev right now. Oroviev? Huh. Alright, well. That's ahistoric. Muscovy should be leading this, but I guess not. Lithuania's eating away at the Livonian Order. Last time I had the Teutonic Order form Prussia. Okay. Can I keep it, though? Do you think you can keep this, Alex? Yeah, I can. We're ticking up right now. I have a good ruler. Yeah, this will be fine. And that rebel faction will probably never fire off, and if it does, easy. Easy. Get some hand cannons. The early game is, by design, by choice, very slow. It is what it is. It'll speed up. But, you know, even if it didn't, that's okay. So the Medicis, the Florin, the gold standard for European currency, literally, for quite some time, it got its name from being Florentine. Florentine? That never dawned on me. Giuseppe is okay, but he's no Piero. And up until there's an economic crash in let's see, 1298. Florence surpassed Siena as the European banking center, which is hence why we hate each other. We'll deal with Brunelleschi here in a second. But then 1340, right before this game starts, European recession hits. Particularly, England isn't able to repay their loans and defaults on their loans, and the Florentine banks go bankrupt. So we're starting this game right after the Black Death. The Black Death happened in 1347, so really just right after getting wrecked by the Black Death. So this is, in European history, a period of regrowth and actually economic boom, because there's, for your everyday worker, your labor is a lot more valuable than it was before, you know, 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2 people died. So, Brunelleschi has done many things for us. He's famed for building the first large dome since antiquity. Not quite yet, but this is, I think, when he was born. He was born in 1377. This event comes from a mod that assumes the start date is 1444, so it didn't have a event fire date on it, so I threw in 1377 rather than when he was hired to work on the dome, because whatever. And you I love because you're so damn cheap. Yeah. Prior to my last game, I felt kind of about advisors who were 50% cheaper. My eyes were opened. They are amazing, especially once you get up to like level 5 advisors. The fact that they only cost like 17 or 10 a month is just astronomically better than what they would cost otherwise. A lot of times with advisors, I'll just click the highest one I can afford and just leave it at that, but yeah. This is, really good, actually. I can actually afford you at the same time. Huh! Yeah, I love them. I cherish them. I should not have promoted Brunelleschi. Unfortunately, there's no way to demote people, but it's fine. It's fine. We're not building anything anytime soon, so I don't really need money right now. I'd just be building up a war chest for something that may never happen. Hey, Sienna, you're still at war, huh? How's this war going? Not well, by the looks of it. Cyprus has occupied Alexandria. Okay. Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't jump in on that war. I love this event. I'm so used to this being -1 stability, is this -50 admin, normally? I can't remember, but for republics, it's just good. Oh, lose corruption. Oh. Okay, Navarra, get it. Big Navarra. Okay, yeah, I do want to go for this. Patronage of the guards. We're still not ticking positively. We are just ticking negatively, slightly less. Oh. It's a slow burn, I'll admit. It's a slow, anxious burn at first. Yeah, Naples normally... Oh, wow, they actually managed to occupy Malta. I've seen Sicily hang out, exiled in Malta for 100, 200 years before rebounding and taking the two Sicilies. So, I'm impressed that Naples actually managed to gut the poor bastard this time. It's a pity. Sicily is actually taking quality trade ships. It's national tax modifier. We're just sitting on our asses. None of the rest of this. This is Gothic architecture is kind of useful, but it's a little late. Royal education doesn't affect us because we don't have a monarch. Otherwise, it'd be quite good. Now we have frequency of elections. Yep, there it is. Frequent elections would allow us to stack up our ruler skill even faster, but like you've been seeing, we get to 666 quickly enough, and they're long-lived enough that we do okay. Longer terms, I think, is just always a bad idea. It saves you on having to balance Republican tradition as much, but you don't get your ruler power up as quickly, and that's bad. Sortition, election by lottery, and elections only occur when the ruler dies. Now, I haven't picked this. Sounds interesting, not gonna lie. No, not for me, because the whole election mechanic is why republics are so good. Instead, we're gonna go for factional politics. There will be bribes during elections, so we'll take a look at this during the next election. Basically, every candidate will have a bonus that comes with them. Now, stability cost modifier plus 15%, especially with how low our Republican tradition is going to be, stability is really fucking expensive. But also yearly Republican tradition, it's great. Absolutely factional politics, and that fits Venetian politics, Florence? The politics of Florence quite well at this time. It was very factional. So I take it you didn't win that war. Yeah. What happened? Oh, Alexandria is independent now. Huh. Okay, probably not for long, but that hurts. The Mamelukes were integrating them, so all of that Diplo power that they spent is just gone now. Venice is in another war. One that they seem to be losing? Yeah, it's complicated. Okay, fair enough. Yep, okay, well, Guess we're waiting. Again, we didn't even have a rezo until 4 years from now in actual history. So I get that it's frustrating that not much is happening. The other night I hopped onto Twitch to just waste time, and there was a streamer I had never seen before playing Florence, and he was so mad at how much nothing happens. And he's like, well, there's just nothing to do, and I can't declare war on this person because they're allied with France, and I can't declare war on this person because they're allied with Austria, and it's just like, there's no good options here. I'm like, that's how you know it's working. That's what it was actually like. It's like they all just threatened each other and glared at each other, and then had a bunch of small petty wars that they called off at the last minute before the major monarchs stepped in and actually started establishing control. Like, it's supposed to be really pensive and tense, and you're gonna have to do some clever politicking to get big kids out of the playground, or be the one who invites the big kids to the playground. No, are we yeah, okay, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking it because I want that development cost reduction. Horrible. Here, this is what I'm talking about. So, Piero gives us nothing. No, nothing. Bureaucrat would give us papal influence. Diplomat would give us trade efficiency and global trade power. Military candidates give Republican tradition, which is, like, pretty damn good. But we'll keep Piero. Now, sometimes re-electing the same person gives benefits like stability and stuff like that, but not this time, it seems. Do I want to go for this? No, because I want empiricism to make innovativeness worth more across the board, and then I want scientific revolution. And I guess I'm probably going to want dynamic court, so we'll have birthplace of the Renaissance before I do this. You are worthless. I could buy it early. There's no point to buying it early. Extended trade range with, ooh, useless. Well, not entirely useless, just mostly useless. And colonial range, which, guess I'm not super excited about. I could start developing right now, but I'm gonna ease off of that. Now, Bohemia tends to get pretty big, being so unchallenged for such a long time. Who's allied? Okay, this is very normal. Sevilla almost always stays allied with Brittany, France, and Aragon for a long, long time. Which, England's fucked, essentially, and so is Portugal. Ooh, Portugal's out of the blanket. Wow, okay, weird. Aragon with the Pope, oh, I hate that, in Sevilla, okay. France is allied with Scotland. Yep, Brittany and Sevilla. Makes sense. Bunch of assholes. England, who you got? Navarra. Oh, buddy. You have Wales in a personal union. It's not good. Not good, friend. Denmark actually does a pretty decent job at holding on to this personal union. I can't remember if Sweden starts in this union or if it happens by event later on. Sápmi up here? For real, they live way longer than they have any right to. Maybe it's the Swedish guarantee. Ah, fuck, I should have caught this a month ago. Oh well. Well, that's fine. Okay, here's a question, Alex. Do you want to do it by cost, or do you want to do it by effectiveness? There's basically two schools of thought here. One is you always go for the cheaper option, so your total development is higher. Your total development is the way that most other powers interact with you and recognize how strong you are, so that makes it pretty important. However, you might, if you crunch the numbers, be better off investing in something with a higher modifier per point, even if it's 2 or even 3 times as expensive. Now this early on, we're just gonna pump this into a reso. One, because I want a reso to be at least 20 by 1440, and now it is. And the reason I want 20 total development by 1440 is so we have another province that could potentially spawn the Renaissance. It's very easy to get all of these to 20 by 1440. Very easy. You know what? Let's just buy that down to 500. Buy both of these south of 500. Yeah, perfect. So I don't have to deal with that pop-up being like, hey, you can get this tech. I'm like, I know I can get the tech. I don't want it yet. And there are other things I could spend it on, like mercantilism or strengthening our government, but really I like to play this as close as possible and just develop as much as I possibly can. Because, again, development just impacts so many things. It doesn't make sense to me to just put Diplo points into something that just makes me money, rather than something that makes me money and makes people respect me more and value my state more or my alliance more or whatever else. Or why just go for Republican tradition if I can go for something that will let our army be better without too much of an additional cost, right? Speaking of, we are at 119. Yeah, you're perfect. Okay, there's one, which is great, but we're gonna have to go for a dynamic court before this one will kick in. And, oh, okay, it'll be next year. 1384? I really wish it said on these texts what year they belong to, but yeah, 1384 looks like the right year. Then we'll fall behind with the admin tech, but that's okay. We'll catch up very quickly. It is a little disappointing that we weren't able to grab either of these ahead of time, but that's where this shit comes in. And someone with maybe some more tech-focused personality traits. But you know what? I've had a lot worse. Midas Touch is really nice. And it's honestly letting me roll with way better advisors than I normally would. So we still haven't been excommunicated, right? No, yeah, we are. Okay, I'm like, how the fuck have I not been excommunicated yet? I hate this. The trade week I'm afraid of here. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Individually, none of these are like a huge deal, but all together, those are some swarmy numbers. Augsburg, Ferrara, Papal State, I could still take this. The Milanese guarantee scares me. Let's just get prestige, because fuck the Pope. Ah, there it is. You know what, let's just go into here and just give me a tiny bit more money. Tiny bit. I just want this to be green. Thank you. That's all I asked for. Because this is an example of the capital modifier. And here, let's take a look at this. So, requirement is development at least 30. And religious unity of 100%. I gotta say, to the mod author, if my religious unity is already 100%, what use am I getting out of this missionary strength bonus? Now, I get that there are ideas that can improve your religious unity even if you're not at full unity, but it's an interesting bonus. Yeah, it's not what I would have done. That's okay. I didn't design it, I'm just using it, and I'll be real with you, I like it. Because that yearly prestige is nice, those power costs are nice, and I am not the only one who will be getting these advantages. You know, here's an idea. What if I declared war on Ferrara? Just be Naples, but it would drag in Pisa without all the other stuff. Ferrara, I could take. Individually, I could also take Pisa. Hold on. Naples, they're the scary one here. I could beat them if I had at least one ally stacked with me. I think even with just Urbino, I could win this. Now, I declare war for Modena, but I want to actually take it. I'd probably release it in Mantua independently, maybe try to get, I don't know, some more friendly states toward us. Let's not push it. It's an interesting idea, and you know, let's click on the button, see what would happen. Urbino would not join. Okay, that's a deal breaker. You have a truce with Ferrara, do you know? Oh, and it's a recent truce, 1388. Okay, right. Well, that sucks. Well, could Tyrol, Savoy, so is that 8, 17, 18, Montferrat 25, plus my 11, 36, beat whatever the hell they have? Probably? That's 18, 26. I'd be close, but yeah, we would win that. The real challenge of the initial war would just be grouping up with this and with this without anything getting stack wiped. I could do it. I don't want to do it yet. I'm gonna wait. Again, 1400 will really be when I'm like, okay, I need to do this. But I'll keep playing clever for now. 522, actually quite good. Let's keep Piero. Oh, here we go. He will also give army tradition this time. Okay. Ah, he's ruthless. Ah, okay, now I'm definitely not doing it. With Immature, I'm like, that aggressive expansion impact might actually make it easier to grab these provinces early on. Now I am absolutely not doing it. Ruthless makes me entirely averse. That aggressive expansion impact would piss off way too many people. AE is very frightening this early on. Big Bulgaria has eaten the Byzantines. The Byzantines don't bounce back in this mod. They start out with more land, some interesting ideas. They don't make it. Playing as them is even quite hard, quite difficult. Bulgaria looks like they're the they're the Byzantines now. I'm Rome now. That's scary. What happened here? White Horde conquest of Novgorod. Yeah. I gotta say, in all of my test games, I've never seen Russia form. I've never seen Russia survive. So normally, even with the rest of the world colonized, there's just big nothing up here. Boom, great. Okay, now I'm gonna lay off of innovative ideas until we get despotic monarchy, but I'm pretty happy with that. This 15% tech cost reduction this early into the game is really going to steamroll. Cool. Still hate Naples, that's great, but Naples also hate me because I've been excommunicated? Alright? Execute the bailiff, hell yeah. Give me more bailiffs. I could be like building a spy network in Pisa or Siena in anticipation of declaring war on them so that sieges would go faster. I could do that. Nope. No bodyguard. Basically, if any event asks me for Thing or Republican tradition, it's always Republican tradition I'm picking unless there are some pretty outstanding circumstances. Now, Florence doesn't actually start out in a great position for building tall. Firenze? For hills. And yeah, we have this market town going for... Oh shit, I should be saving up for that. No, I shouldn't. This is already tier 2. Lucca is one I want to make. Or Lucha is the one I want to make tier 3. we have this development cost reduction, and then we get a little bit because it's our capital, prosperity, but not really. And Arezzo is also hills. So until we get Siena, Pisa, and especially Lucca, which has cloth, and a port, and you can move your capital there, Lucca is definitely the best province to put your capital in this state. It's going to be slow going as far as development efficiency goes. But that's okay. That's okay. There's a story about why Florence was settled in the hills rather than down in the valley. I can't remember it. I didn't make a note on this. No, but it was settled by Etruscans circa 6th or 7th century BCE. Florence was itself established in 59 BCE by Julius Caesar. Then it was made a March of Tuscany. Well, the March of Tuscany's capital was actually in Lucca. In 774, the march was Francia's. It was Charlemagne's. Then we were a Marquisate until 1115. And then in 1115, an autonomous medieval commune took over Florence and did so for the next 23 years until it was referred to as a republic. There's some very interesting, like, literally communist stuff going on. Not socialist, not Marxist as we would think of it now, but definitely some very interesting, like, no, we don't need a marquise, we don't need a duke. We're fine. We can rule ourselves. Stuff going on. Very interesting. I want to read more about Dithmarschen in this interesting peasants' republic up here. But you know, there's a lot of things I want to learn about that I haven't learned about. But Florence has been very interesting to read about. Really, it's a pretty corrupt. Alex, it's okay. It's okay not to take it right now. I want this because it will give innovativeness, and the faster I build that up, the better. But I'm willing to bet no one else is taking innovative ideas. So we're probably okay. Union of Crevo. Poland becomes a junior partner. They become historical friends. Lithuania becomes Catholic. Ooh, I was hoping for a weird... Last time this happened, you were at war with several people, but now it just looks like this is a dated event. Well, that's unfortunate, but okay. The Commonwealth tends to be very, very powerful. And you don't have too many ways out of that. So you have Poland, Galicia as personal union. Then you have Chernigov and Kiev as vassals. Get it. Dude, long live Piero. How old are you? 68, my man. Nice. Love him. Okay, we'll get Despotic Monarchy. Now I don't need to worry about being behind. And now we are very ahead of time on these. The real question is, do you buy them ahead of time to start building up innovativeness? Or, hold up, who are you at war with? Verona, Siena, and Aquila. You were at war with Milan, still allied with everyone. I don't think it would be a better time. Is it better to develop, or is it better to build up innovativeness? No, that's a horrible idea. And none of you fucks will join me? No, no, that's cool. No, it's not like been building up trust or anything. Okay, you have 20, build up trust. You have 20, build up trust. You have... Yeah, we'll wait on that. Personally, I think I lean toward building up innovativeness, as that just makes everything cheaper in the long run, and then you can develop later. The slow down early on, but again, it's going to be literally 20 years until we're behind the time on taking Pisa. I don't think I need to rush it. And fuck, if I have a hard time taking it, that's interesting. And it's a more interesting challenge than what'll happen after we take Pisa, Lucca, and Siena, which should just sit here. Sit here and let everybody blob around. You're succeeding at this? I've never seen Sevilla do this successfully. I've always seen Morocco, Tlemcen, and Tunis and Granada just pour in here and actually take over. The first test game I did, this went Muslim and this went Christian. It was basically like an inverted map. It was pretty cool. Oh, okay. Somebody got this already, so hey, my choice has been made for me. Great. Don't need to hem and haw over it anymore. Just gotta plop these points in. Great. Oh shit, I actually should have checked this. Yep, no, Diplotech was still ahead of time. Fuck. Well. Whoops. Oh well, the money's nice and the development is nice, so that's okay. Maybe we can still get the ahead of time bonus. Maybe not. No, it don't matter. This is a very rare Midas touch event. Thank you. Piero is well known for his unsurpassability to find new sources of state income in the unlikeliest of places. If I remember, this is very unlike Piero degli. No. I actually want to read about Piero. Oh, right. But the Wikipedia article on Piero is in Italian. So we're just gonna quick translate on that. Piero was dead 11 years ago. He died in 1379. Son of Filippo and Contessa Donati, in 1348 he was elected Gonfaloniere of the Company of his district in Florence, and on behalf of the Florentine Republic held the position of ambassador to Rome, Milan, and Naples. In 1349 and 1350 he was prior of the city. Prior, every 8th, I think, of the city elected their own prior. The prior was the standard bearer and justice keeper for that section of the city. It's an interesting thing. In 1352 he was sent to Naples as ambassador to attend the coronation of Giovanna. In 1358 he was appointed commissioner with the aim of defending the territory of the Republic from the incursions of the Count Lando and his troops. A German leader and captain of fortune. Never heard of him? Interesting. 1370, at the height of his political career, he managed to make the various councils concede to move against the Visconti, seeking alliances with the Gonzaga of Mantua, which would have been great, but Mantua didn't want anything to do with us, the Astini of Ferrara, who hate us, and the Manfredi, lords of Finza, which isn't in this game. He found this for favors. For the favors... Alright, this is being... He found for this the favors Pope Urban V. What? For this he found the favor of Pope Urban? Who was elevated to cardinal in June of that year. Okay, Pope Urban then made his nephew a cardinal. Okay, God, that did not translate well. Political struggles of the opposing Ricci family resulted in a 1372 interdiction of 5 years from public office and exile from Florence of the two contenders. Piero found refuge in Naples, returning to the court of Giovanna. Returning to Florence in 1377, he resumed his place amongst the Guelph captains. The resistance against the captains' oligarchy was found by the Gonfaloniere of Justice, Salvestro de' Medici, which is where this Albizzi de' Medici grudge starts, who had passed a law against the captains, who in turn promised not to observe the new law. The plebeians, the plebs, took to the square on the 20th of July, 1378, organizing a revolt which took the name of the Chianti riot. Led by Michel de Lando, they attacked and burned down the houses of the Albizzi and Piero. Permanently excluded from public office, managed to escape by fleeing Florence and repairing to Venice. Fleeing to Venice, whatever. Back in Florence, Piero was arrested on the 20th of December 1379 on charges of conspiracy against the popular regime of the Chianti. Super interesting regime, by the way. The leader who they appointed to the head of the Signoria, this mob, was described as like this messianic figure. He walked into the palazzo without shoes on, barefoot, and wearing simple clothes. Like, it's very revolutionary reading about it. It's super interesting. It's a pity it was put down like 20 years later by the Albizzi and other noble families, well, rich families. Attacked and burned down the house, ran away, charges of conspiracy, sentenced to beheading, and the sentence was executed on December 23rd in the Palazzo di Signoria. So he's dead at this point. We are off the books. I mean, we're off the books as soon as we click the start button, but Piero may seem to be having an uninteresting life here. He's not doing much, but I think the real Piero would have been thrilled to live to 70. Though he may not be thrilled with how many de' Medici I'm gonna make Gonfaloniere after this point. Am I pronouncing that right? Gonfaloniere. Gonfaloniere? Yes, I have watched the De Medici series on Netflix. No, I still cannot pronounce it. Also, there's a bunch of English-speaking people trying to speak Italian, and I appreciate that my grasp of the Romance languages is not the best. You've been excommunicated. You're only allied with Naples. You're still in that god-awful... and only Montferrat would join. Fighting in another war, you have no reason to, and you have no reason to. Hey, trust me. And you, obviously, are too powerful to be so easily turned. Damn. Is the Pope in a war? No, I gotta keep an eye out for that, because if the Pope goes to war, that means Pisa's an easy target. Though, that 15k stack is still scary if... Oh, goodbye, Urbino. Serbian conquest of Athens. Well, you're gonna lose. Alright, this is not the fastest start I've had. I've gotten fortunate and been able to core all of this within, like, the first 20 years before, but... that's okay. That is okay. Vitali, you're horrible. Horrible, bad Vitali. Is this still ahead of time? Nope, you fucked it, Alex. It's not the end of the world. It's only a little bit of innovativeness, but really every bit matters, and the sooner you can throw it together, the better. Because then it's way easier to keep, but that's okay. How many years ahead of time is this? 4 years, quite some time. Ah, he dead. Alright, well, I guess we'll put in a cut here, but before I do, I'm just gonna spend both of these down to 500? Yeah. And okay. Let's take a minute to remember. Piero. He declared the statute in restraint of appeals. He dissolved the monasteries. We moved our capital to Firenze. It was always there. So the map's mostly about the same. We've developed a little. We've built our economy. We're gaining momentum. We're consistently in a very powerful position with monarch points. That's okay. Who are we gonna elect? Giacomo is tempting because we do have this innovative ideas group I want to close out as quickly as possible, and this is probably the one we'll need to focus on. Nah. Wow. Bonaventura is not much better than anyone else. He's basically a slightly better military candidate, but he costs tradition. Yeah, you know what? No de Medici. We'll click on Giacomo here. Oh, and we're not excommunicated anymore. How about that? Florence 13 Girolamo de Busca. Alright, fantastic. I'm gonna put in a cut here. This was, God, almost 2 hours. Fuck. I'd like to say they're not gonna all live that long, but they might. Till later. Toodaloo. Take care. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.